Welcome back to WaterparkRanger's Let's Play Pikmin 2. Last episode, we cleared a new dungeon, the Hole of Beasts, in this new area, the Awakening Wood, and we got some new purple Pikmin from inside it, 15 more of them to add to the party, making 25 purple Pikmin. And, in addition to that, all the treasures we got in there led to us clearing 20% of the debt. So the debt's 10,000 Pokos, we've cleared over 2,000 by this point. We're going to have to call out a few more purples here, not because I'm using them for battles, because I said I wouldn't, but because we're going to need them to get past a certain barrier. Oh, we're interrupted by a cutscene, huh? Louie, has Olimar instructed you on the peculiarities of the Pikmin creatures? The Pikmin form groups based on color when disbanded with X. Grabbing Pikmin with A will also cause them to group by color. Now for the bonus lesson. After grabbing a Pikmin with A, you can press left or right on the D-pad to swap it for another color. This is the first time you've heard this? Olimar, remember to properly train new employees. So, usually you get that cutscene pretty much as soon as you land, but I guess it felt like giving it to us now. I don't know exactly why. Typically you get it when you're fighting those two dwarf red bulbors that appear in this area. And sometimes Pikmin even get killed during the cutscene because of how it interrupts you. So I guess, if anything, it was good that it came up while we were fighting those sheer grubs that couldn't even hurt Pikmin. And anyway, before it rudely interrupted me with actually very helpful information that I'll talk to you again after I mention this, the reason we need more purple Pikmin is because there's a new barrier we have to knock down. It was that paper bag that was filled with air and takes 200, so we're going to have to bring a good amount of purple Pikmin over there anyway. And we're not going to be using them to throw on enemies in the dungeon. That's not my idea. Because there is another dungeon back there that we have to go in today. Or rather, I plan to go in there today, because really, you're given so much freedom of choice in this game as to which dungeons you go in when. Really, even the more difficult ones, I'm going to be trying to tackle them in the way that I believe they become more difficult. Like, I'm going to start with the easier ones and work my way up through the more difficult ones without tackling ones that are super difficult early on. Like, the harder ones will come out later in the Let's Play. So, the difficulty curve will work out pretty well that way, I think. And we have another Burrownit back here. They're so cool. Actually, the interesting thing about cloaking Burrownits, in my opinion, is that they're kind of designed like horseshoe crabs. Like, you know how horseshoe crabs are, if you've never seen one, they look like Burrownits, but you have to kind of turn them around. Like, the shell is instead the head, and the nose is the tail. Otherwise, they look just like horseshoe crabs. Astounding! My metal detectors are reacting violently. What could be down below? If you find trouble below, press start/pause to contact me and press R on the radar screen. The exploration pod will drop its loot to make room to carry you, Louie, and the Pikmin to safety. So that's telling you if you want to bail out of a dungeon. I'm going to show you how to do that eventually. So we can't go any further due to that weird wall in the way. So let's go down here into the next dungeon, White Flower Garden. As you can also see, there's some interesting metal stuff around the entrance to this dungeon. Is that foreboding anything? In fact, yes it is, because the beginning of this dungeon introduces an interesting new dungeon layout, Rusty Metal. This layout basically has platforms floating over an abyss. Actually, this floor is a lot like the first floor of the Hole of Beasts. You just have male and female sheer grubs to deal with once again. Maybe the space is a little bit smaller, because I don't believe that the shape of this floor ever changes, despite the fact that the dungeons in this game have a lot of random generation for the way that the floors are designed. This floor always looks the same. The sheer grubs might pop out of slightly different places, though, each time you play it, as well as the way down to the next floor and where the treasure is. And in this case, the treasure's right over here. The treasure is almost always in one of the corners here. And it looks like a thing of shoe polish, actually. Don't know why they call it kiwi. Kind of misleading. Actually, it almost looks like one of those icebreaker boxes. Actually, that would have been a cool opportunity for product placement. Because I think product placement in this game actually works out quite well, because the products get sponsored, they get really interesting names, and it's something that's easily relatable as well. So I kind of hope that they bring that back for Pikmin 3. Honestly, I don't care for the story in Pikmin 3, as long as the gameplay follows the way that Pikmin 2 set things up, except adding that multiplayer story mode that I think this game really needed. It would be so much better. Of course, the game should also be lengthier, more difficult, introduce more types of creatures to encounter, maybe some longer dungeons, you know, new Pikmin types, stuff that you'd expect. Maybe even new sprays, because the sprays are interesting. It's just there are only 2 sprays in the game, so it kind of felt like they could have done more with it. Anyway, on this floor we have new enemies that, if we can avoid fighting, I will. They're called Fiery Blowhogs. They're a returning enemy from the first game, though like many enemies from the first game, they are a lot smaller and weaker in this game. Nevertheless, they're dangerous on this floor particularly, because when they shake Pikmin off, they kick them far away from them, meaning that they might kick Pikmin over the edge, and if a Pikmin falls over the edge on a rusty metal dungeon level, it just dies pretty much, like, as soon as it falls to a certain point. It dies within, like, 2 seconds after being thrown over, and you can't call them back. So, that's one of the dangers of a rusty metal floor, and it looks like we didn't actually have to fight them, but I'm showing you them anyway. Look, they spray fire, and yeah. Although, they're actually a little bit less dangerous also because they shot out stronger and faster fire in the first game. Hey, and a Dr. Pepper bottle cap. Oh, a friend of mine is pretty much addicted to Dr. Pepper. So, I don't know. I guess it's a good drink. I've never had it. I actually have no idea what Dr. Pepper tastes like. I've never drank Dr. Pepper, I guess, as a kid because I thought, well, who wants to drink a soda that's flavored like pepper? But it's probably just like standard soda, like a Faygo. I've never actually had Faygo before either, but I hear about it. And over here we have a new plant. Let's see if we can actually get in our Picklopedia by having a Pikmin brush up against it. It might not count, because I think captains have to brush up against it. This floor's layout is also one that never changes. The White Flower Garden only has 2 sublevels with random generation map layouts. The only thing that changes here is perhaps where the small plants are located, not these flowers, though. How can a flower so deep underground bloom so robustly? How mysterious. This place is conspicuously warm. Could it act as a kind of hothouse for foliage? What an interesting development. The Pikmin look as if they long to be tossed into the flower. So this is just like those purple flowers earlier, except they're white. These are called ivory candy pop buds instead of violet candy pop buds. And they will transform any Pikmin that is thrown into them into the color of the flower. So what's up with these weird-looking hail sprouts? Well, if you pick them, you get albino Pikmin. So these are really cool, though they're called white Pikmin. But they are albino because they have those big red eyes that are... albino animals have white skin and red eyes, and typically are more used to darker conditions. Incredible! A white Pikmin. It is tiny, but looks distinctly swift. Its eyes are an unseemly red. This type of Pikmin was not mentioned in your notes, Olimar. It must be an entirely new type. Our data record on this type is a blank page since a certain captain never documented them. We must experiment and make detailed observations for the benefit of future generations. Yeah, so these white Pikmin are albino, which is pretty cool. They live underground, so they're better adapted, I suppose, to seeing in the dark. Which is pretty cool. It's another one of those things where Pikmin just pays more attention and just that level of detail that they give to a lot of their the creatures, including the Pikmin themselves. So that's pretty interesting. Although the purple Pikmin are also supposedly found underground, they don't have that adaptation. So they survive just on brute force, while the white Pikmin are a little bit more clever. White Pikmin, abilities they have, they're very fast. They have purple flowers just like, pink flowers just like the purple Pikmin. And honey wisp is going to be found on this floor if you brush up against the side plants. They can also find treasure that is buried underground and out of sight. So although the treasure gauge might let you know where it is, it takes a white Pikmin to dig it up. Amazing, the white Pikmin have unearthed a treasure that was completely buried in the ground. Perhaps those beady red eyes of theirs allow them to sense objects buried in the dirt. So that's one of their abilities. Really helpful. So that's their abilities. They're fast, and they can dig things up that are completely buried in the ground. They have another ability, actually 2 more properties. One of them we might not find out if we get lucky. One of them we're going to find out on the next floor. So here's another honey wisp is hiding on the side. The honey wisps always hide in the 2 plants that are found on the corners of this sublevel. So I think the whole albino thing is really cool because there are real albino animals, and there are also albino people. In case you didn't know, I don't know like how common an occurrence that is. However, I do know some albino people. I don't know how many people can actually claim to say that, but I don't know. There have been a lot of albino like people and animals in my life. Like if you've ever seen albino alligators, they look so cool. They're like white with like a yellow underbelly. And they live in, like, dark water, so that is so awesome. and we're going to be heading down to the next floor next episode.